going through a fairly significant period in my life where I was kind of disillusioned with the church. Got very critical of the church, and one of the things that I would say when I was talking with people is I just don't see a whole lot of authentic life in the church. The church seems just kind of dead. I don't see real life there. And a lot of people saw the same thing and agreed with me, and other people not so much. But there was one person in particular who challenged me a bit, and that person asked me, what should life look like? What does real, authentic life look like? And I had no idea. I puzzled over that for a long time, and it had to be well over a year later. I was still wondering about this, still puzzling over it, and it felt like God sort of smacked me on the head and said, if you really want to know what life's supposed to look like, look at the creation account. God gave us a picture of life the way He created it. And I really dove into studying that, and I learned a lot. And some of the things that I learned actually shocked me because they were so different from everything that I had been taught as a Christian so far. And we're going to go into those things in future videos. But for now, I want to give sort of like this overarching look. How do you define what life looked like? And I would use the word shalom to describe it. Now, many of us are familiar with the word shalom. It's a Hebrew word that gets translated into English as peace. And I would suggest that shalom is much bigger than the way we would use the word peace. Peace is a great translation, but there's no one single English word that really does justice to the idea of shalom. When I think of peace, personally, I think of either, it's really one of two things. The war ended, and so there's peace, right? It's the absence of conflict. Or I'm sitting on a dock overlooking the bay, the sun is setting, and I see the reflection of the sun on the water, and there's this beautiful, cool breeze, and I have a fishing pole in one hand and a glass of wine in the other hand. That's peace. But shalom is much, much bigger than that, and much more beautiful than that. In Hebrew, in the culture of the Middle East and the eastern part of the world, it's a very active worldview. Actions are more important than the things, and we're kind of the opposite in the West. But one example of that is the way language is formed. In the West, usually we start with a noun, and then verbs come from that. In the East and in the Middle East, you start with, like in the Hebrew language, you start with verbs, and then nouns are usually derived from the verbs. So shalom is the noun, but what is the verb? Well, the verb shalom means to make whole or complete. To make whole or complete. So shalom is the noun form of that verb. The noun is the state of being whole and complete. Wholeness and completeness. The fullness of life. That's shalom. When Jewish people come together just about anywhere in the world, you'll hear them greet each other saying shalom. What they're really saying is, I wish you the fullness of life. May you experience complete life. May you be complete and whole. And they hang out for a while, and then they leave. And when they leave, they say, shalom, reaffirming, once again, I wish you wholeness and completeness. I wish you life the way God intended it. And in New Jersey, we say, hey, what's up? Right? Just lame. But shalom is so packed. It's such a huge descriptive word, the wholeness and completeness of life. And when we pick up in the subsequent videos here, I'll talk a little bit about each of the pieces of creation and the way God created life, what God wanted life to look like. But for now, we're just defining that word shalom as the wholeness and completeness of life, everything God intended life to be. And that's a picture of what Adam and Eve had in this new, perfect, sinless world. All right, so in the next few videos, we'll pick up from there and really take a deeper look at those things.